They were just the face of a character I just fucking science fiction wrote. That ending of the honeymoon phase is the start of actual love. People don't fall in love with you, at least not at first. They fall in love with an idea of you, a version that's perfect, that just takes their breath away. And for a while, you let that happen because being seen as perfect by someone is pretty damn flattering. Hey, I'm Andy. I'm a psychology student, and on this channel, I break down self help topics in a non self help way. If you're into stuff like that, watch this video and then you can decide if you actually like it. Have you ever had a crush on somebody or have been in a very early stage relationship and the person you were with was just incredible? They were perfect, seemingly had no mistakes. Everything just went right, everything just flowed. You were perfect together. And then something happened. People call it the honeymoon phase stopped. The honeymoon phase ended. Now, welcome to real life. And I've always heard that, and I was like, that sounds horrible. I don't want my honeymoon phase to end. I want to love my partner for my whole life. Some people call it falling out of love. Most couples separate after this point. They are just falling out of love. They just go and chase that high of the honeymoon phase in a different person, and the cycle repeats. But what if I tell you that maybe, just maybe, that breakthrough of the illusion of perfection, that ending of the honeymoon phase, is the start of actual love? That is the point where actual, true, mature, healthy, realistic love can begin to grow. According to research by Dr. Murray, idealization is a part of falling in love. And his research, published in 1996, researches idealization processes in early stage relationships, not only. But basically, what it found is that couples in early stages of dating tend to idealize one another to a degree that is disproportional to the other person's own self perception. Meaning that if I rate myself on a stupid scale from 0 to 10 and I rate myself a 6, somebody who has just fallen in love with me might rate me an 8 or a 9. And that discrepancy, that phenomenon of us seeing our potential partners in early stages of dating as perfect, might seem like a weakness. But it's actually biology. It's driven by dopamine and norepinephrine, which kind of in these settings deactivates the function of our prefrontal neocortex a little bit, meaning that our judgment is literally biologically impaired. And like I said, that sounds like a weakness, but what if it's not? What if it's nature's way of preparing us for real intimacy? So, this whole thing is not me judging people seeing other people as perfect when they fall in love. I've done it myself. I've been the one idealized, and I've been the one idealizing. And both of these versions ended up not being true. But what if this whole system of idealization and positive projection on our potential future partners is nature's way of preparing us for, like I said, real intimacy, sort of like a ramp, like takeoff strip, where that illusion of perfection helps us put our guard down, helps us prepare ourselves for real intimacy, helps us be open to intimacy. Your brain built you a simplified version of that person in order to take away the terror of genuine intimacy. Like I said, I think this idealization is like a psychological ramp. You couldn't walk into the full complexity of a person on day one. You would get overwhelmed and scared, you'd shut down and you'd run away. How are we supposed to build lasting relationships and profound intimacy with other people if we would just get constantly overwhelmed by massive amounts of information right from the bat? And this is where this comes in. It's a natural process of love. And this is what the problem is. Most couples end their relationship here. Most couples just drift apart, fall out of love, and go and chase that honeymoon phase high, that positive projection high, somewhere else. Thinking that if they just look good enough, if they just try hard enough to find the right person, they will eventually find them. But I think that they might be surprised that there's no such thing as one perfect person, because there is no such thing as a perfect person. None of us is perfect. And when somebody sees us as perfect, the fall from that is hard and painful. From my personal experience, I have been the perfect girl that had it all. I've been fallen in love with, only to, upon making a mistake and shattering the illusion of perfection, being faced with the competition of me, just perfect. But that perfect version of me never really existed. That person imagined it. It never really truly existed as perfect as they thought it did. And now I have to compete with myself, just where the other version of myself is perfect in every way. And that is the point where relationships either break apart, fall out of love, or real love starts. Because what happens if I suddenly see a person naked? And not naked in an erotic sense of, but naked in the most vulnerable possible way that exists on this planet Earth. When I see their flaws and when I see their weaknesses and I see them on their ugly days, and I smell their farts, I see when they're sick, I see when they react out of triggers, I see when they react out of trauma, I see when they're doing bad choices, I see all of that. And through that, I still can see the person that I fell in love with. The person that is funny and beautiful and smart and is trying hard and is kind to other people and is helpful and is well raised and polite and ambitious and who God knows what, but also has this whole entire dimension of bad things to themselves, things that are unhealed about themselves, things that that person needs to work on, mistakes that that person made. If I can see both of these sides side by side, and I still choose the person, and that person sees me, sees my dark side and my good side, and still chooses me, that is real love. Real love is not, I found my dream man, I found my dream girl, they're just perfect and we're gonna live happily ever after. No. I don't believe that real love is like that. And maybe we've been fed this illusion by Disney, by romance movies, by rom-coms, God knows what. We've been fed this illusion that love, if it's the right love, it's just easy. And now I'm not referring to, toxic relationships. I do think that if love is right, it will flow. But it's not always easy, because life is not easy and life is not fair and things happen and, shit just happens. So, of course, our life with a person that knows everything about us, that sees our absolute worst and our absolute best. Of course, that's not always going to be easy. But look me in the eye and tell me honestly, would you rather have somebody see you as perfect and then constantly have to live with the pressure of trying to keep that up? Or would you prefer somebody to see all the disgusting, bad, mistakes and choices and things about you and still choose you and still love you. That's what real love is, in my opinion. And I just want to say that the idealization of a person, it's not stupidity. It's nature and it's scaffolding. And when it inevitably ruptures, it doesn't mean you necessarily did anything profoundly wrong. It's going to inevitably happen sooner or later to every single relationship. But in that moment, you didn't lose love. The love between you and that person just lost its training wheels. And that is the moment the actual question appears. Do you want what you projected onto this person? Or do you love this person? I think modern dating culture, and I've been a part, and I would dare to say victim of this myself, teaches us to only look for how our partners make us feel, what our partners can do for us. It's always me, 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 me. What can you do for me? What about me? Do you bring value to me? And yes, while all of these things are true, that other person should also be asking them. I've recently watched a video, I will link it in the description box below, by a Buddhist monk explaining the difference between attachment and love. And he said that attachment is, I want you to make me happy. And love is, I want you to be happy. It's just so true, because if I think about the love that I have for my family, for my mom, for my dad, for my siblings, for my grandmother, for my friends, I want my friends to be happy. Of course, in healthy relationships, and that's the prerequisite for them to work, these other people also need me or want me to be happy. And because we both want that for each other, that's love. But as I have reflected on this, I have come to the conclusion that in the past, I have picked my dating partners and potential dating partners and just solely based on what they can do for me, which is so rare and strange because I never used to be a person like that. I'm the most unselfish person ever. That's literally what a selfish person would say. But what I'm trying to say is that when I'm with friends, when there's like platonic love, if it's not romantic, I've never even for a second thought that our relationship is based on the other person's responsibility to make me feel good about myself. But it's our mutual responsibility to both benefit from our relationship. And with romantic relationships, it was, I think, probably influenced by internet culture, by pop culture, by dating culture, by internet femininity coaches that, like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's always just like, if you get the ick, leave. If he doesn't send you $10,000 every day for breathing, leave. And I was like, yeah, totally. What, girl? What the heck? Like, of course not. And I'm so glad I kind of grew out of that. Obviously, I think I still have a little bit of patterns. Like I previously pointed out, I have been both the idealized version, both somebody that was seen as perfect and somebody that was seeing other people as perfect. And for a while, if somebody sees you as perfect, you're like, thank you very much. And you let it happen because it feels good and it strokes your ego. But then you have to fight with a version of yourself that is just perfect in every way. And that, obviously, that's not me, you know. But I've also been the person that put somebody on such a giant pedestal and then had to have the soul crushing realization that that person that I fell in love with never existed. they were just not real. I just fucking imagined them. They were just the face of a character I just fucking science fiction wrote. One thing I keep coming back to is that real love, whatever it actually is for each of us, seems to only be possible on the other side of that grief. On the other side of the grief of losing the illusion of that person. Because on the other side of that grief, there waits somebody, the real them. But you have to lose the idea of someone before you can actually see the real them. I don't know if that is hopeful or devastating, maybe a little bit of both. But I think the imaginary of me being left for who I am, even as my most mean, most disgusting, most unfair, most ugly, most smelly, most dumb self, that's beautiful, isn't it? Can you even imagine? So I'm going to leave you with one last question. If the disillusionment of perfection is the beginning and not the end, why are we so afraid of it? What are we so afraid to lose? The person, the perceived perfection that they had in our eyes, the feeling of a perfect person choosing us, or the feeling of us being perceived as perfect? Do we miss the certainty that we had about them before we knew the not so nice stuff? What is it? Because if we can name it, we can process it. And if the disillusionment is just the beginning, I better sure as hell get processing. All right, see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye. Mwah.